And we are back here on Metal Nation Radio. I am Rustin Rose, Metalholic Magazine. You just heard Bound for Glory from the debut Black Star Riders album, All Hell Breaks Loose. And with us tonight, the man behind the guitar riffs, or at least one of the men behind the guitar riffs, Brother Damon Johnson. How are you doing, man?
Rustin, long time no talk, buddy. I'm doing great.
Absolutely.
Good to talk to you.
Absolutely, too long. You guys are wrapping up the U.S. tour this weekend, then about a month off, I think, before the European tour. I know what a huge fan you are of Thin Lizzy, and I know how passionate you are about the new music and band. This has got to be like dreamlike for you.
It's a great word, man. It is kind of dreamlike. I'd kind of reached a point in my career. I was really content. I was playing with Alice Cooper, who is my brother, and I love him and his family and the band and everything. And I just really kind of settled into a groove. And but when the opportunity came to be a part of Thin Lizzy, it wasn't necessarily a no-brainer because of all the things I just mentioned. My commitment to Alice. So I give my wife a lot of credit. She's the one that said, Damon, if you don't do this, you're going to regret it, because I know how much this band means to you. And when she said that, it kind of shook me out of it. It's like, but yeah, what am I thinking? I have to do this. And that was 2011. And as you know, everything has morphed into Black Star Riders. So indeed, man, I'm very honored and really proud to be a part of it.
Absolutely. I remember at the time you had sort of stepped back from Alice. You wanted more time to do the Brother Kane stuff, work on your solo stuff, have some more time at home with your beautiful wife. And then this sort of came along, and it's like, how could you not? I mean, the last time we spoke, you were playing your fingers numb, prepping for your first tour with Thin Lizzy. Yeah, after 3 years, is it still somewhat surreal playing in harmony with one of your longtime heroes every night? Well,
it's certainly, I can say it's not surreal anymore, but it is absolutely exciting. It's still exciting, man. Every night. Scott is such a generous band member. He's such a generous performer. He's such a generous spirit to be on the road with and to be on stage with. And it's really my favorite thing about Scott. We had met several years ago, and he totally had that kind of cool California cool about him that you've read about and heard other people talk about, and that just kind of permeates his whole life. So, for all of us in the band, man, we really feel like Scott has given us this gift of being able to continue and do it under the Thin Lizzy umbrella somewhat, but do it with new music, moving forward creatively, artistically, that type of thing. And it's a situation I would have never imagined.
Right. And I want to talk about the music here in just a second, but I got to ask you, as a guitarist, what have you learned from Scott after playing with him now for 3 years?
I've learned a lot from Scott about economy, economy in your writing and in your playing. Guys like you and me, Rustin, we kind of grew up in the age of shred, right. And the that progression where guitar playing kind of started with the blues and melodies and things like that, and then it went into more like technique and a lot of notes and almost more of a like, hey, check me out kind of mentality about playing. And I'll argue to the death that that's not what it's about. It's about playing from your gut and playing from your heart and being musical, man. Being musical, like the Beatles, or telling stories and writing lyrics, like Dylan or like Springsteen. That's the stuff, man. And Scott's always been about that. He'll be the first guy to tell you that he was so lucky to cross paths with Phil Lynott and be a part of the original band and kind of be a foil for Phil, not just creatively, but on stage as well. So, to be able to learn more and more about that and do it partnered with someone like Scott Gorham, it's the greatest education I think any guitar player could ever get. And so we kind of take that into the writing, we take that into the studio, we take it onto the stage. And, Scott always wants me right out front, hanging over the monitor, guitar in everybody's face and doing it. But, we definitely kind of consider ourselves old school gunslingers. We want to play great parts that are musical and He wants those harmonies to be tight. I mean, that's why he is the man, Rustin. It's why Scott owns a lot of that real estate, man, of harmony guitar parts that have, influenced everybody from Metallica to Mastodon, to Megadeth to, Tesla, anybody you want to think of that has two guitar players that write and perform parts like that.
Right, and it's the melody in his playing, too. It's just fantastic. So let's talk about the music. I asked you when we spoke last time about recording new music under the Thin Lizzy banner, and you were respectfully hesitant about messing with Phil's legacy. And I think you guys made the right choice to change the name. That said, you guys wrote a fantastic album that truly honors Phil's memory, and I have no doubt he'd have been proud to have the Thin Lizzy name on it.
Well, that's a massive compliment, Rustin. And, a year now after the release of the album, we absolutely feel that we did the right thing. We feel we did indeed deliver a great album. And the Thin Lizzy fan base has just echoed that sentiment. And I think that's the aspect of this whole experience that we're the most grateful for and the most proud of. Because, I almost look at Thin Lizzy's influence in there's two parts of it. One is just that sound, the sound that the band had. The sound was influential. It touched so many of us in so many ways, and all you have to do is just look at the deep love and passion that people have for that. Look no further than social media, how outspoken people have been, not only in their support, but in their defense of Thin Lizzy.
Right.
And then the other half of that was Phil himself. He was an icon. Phil was an icon on the level of Johnny Cash, Freddie Mercury, Elvis Presley. He's just one of a kind. There's no copying that. There's no totally broke the mold. There's no one. There'll never be another performer or artist like Phil Lynott. So, as Ricky so eloquently says, he does not try to fill Philip Lynott's shoes. All he can do is stand beside them and be respectful of that and do the best job he can when he's singing those Thin Lizzy songs. So we get to play those songs still, but we're writing new music that not only celebrates Phil, but it celebrates the sound of Thin Lizzy, which was just as unique and just as special as Phil Lynott, the individual, was.
Absolutely. Now, I have to imagine by taking the legacy of the Thin Lizzy name off your shoulders, it gave you more freedom to sort of be your own band, if you will.
Of course. And, we didn't know that with any great amount of confidence when we decided to change the name. Certainly there was some doubt of the unknown, just like, wow, what's going to happen? We don't know, but we can't go in and record these songs and call it Thin Lizzy. We know that it wouldn't be right because it's just a very, very different thing now. So, but, creatively and stylistically, we felt like that we certainly would have the enthusiasm and the drive to write these songs, knowing that it was okay to sound as Thin Lizzy as we wanted to or as we could. And I give a lot of credit, to the team we have around us, our friends at Nuclear Blast, our record company, our management, and Kevin Shirley, who produced the first album. Just almost by accident, Rustin, the album turned out exactly like I think we all wanted, exactly like it should. If you say, hey, these guys have been the 21st century touring version of Thin Lizzy, they're going to write new music and release it, but they're going to put it out under a different name. I wonder what that should sound like. Well, it sounds like All Hell Breaks Loose.
Yeah, you guys really hit the nail on the head there. And what's interesting is, the crux of the writing was done by you and Ricky, who grew up as such huge fans. What was that like for you as a writer, trying to channel that vibe you grew up as such a fan of?
For me, it wasn't even work. It wasn't even labor. It was love, man. It was just love and enthusiasm and respect. And it was a big, big day the very first time Ricky and I played the initial batch of ideas for Scott. We knew that it was absolutely paramount that Scott at least believe in what we were doing and have some excitement of it and acceptance of it. He'd already said, "Hey guys, go crazy, knock yourselves out. Whatever you can come up with, let's get busy." So that day that we were on tour in the UK, and we all got together in Scott's hotel room and played him a few things, and man, he was over the moon. Almost like, holy shit, man, you guys wrote that? Like, we can use that for the album? So, that was a great day. And then, once we kind of got over that, that hump or whatever you want to call it, once we got past that, with Scott's full blessing, then we knew we were off and running.
Nice. Let's take a quick break and we'll play a track off that album. How about we do Kingdom of the Lost, and we'll be back on the other side of the jump with more from Damon Johnson here on Metal Nation Radio. And we're back here on Metal Nation Radio. Of course, the Black Star Riders album, All Hell Breaks Loose. You just heard Kingdom of the Lost. Great, great song. Really has that whole Irish vibe going there, too. I love this entire album. I think I already told you it made our top 50 over at Metalholic for the albums of the year. Thank you for sticking around to talk with us a little bit more, Damon.
My pleasure, bro. I'm really proud of Kingdom of the Lost. And, again, the Irish sound, the Irish spirit was a part of Thin Lizzy's entire discography, as it would be having a frontman and principal songwriter that is from Dublin and has always been a proud patriot of that country and its history and its struggles and its evolution. So, to have Ricky Warwick now in this band and to also be a proper special songwriter in his own right, Scott, myself, Jimmy, and Marco, we've been able to express that Irish style that Thin Lizzy was always known for, but we can be legitimate about it. Ricky's from Ireland, he's from Belfast. He lived there in the 70s, through the troubles, through the social and economic issues. He's the real thing. And I just shudder to think, I'm sure there was a laundry list of guys that Scott could have reached out to about, fronting Thin Lizzy and going out and singing a song. There's no one else he could have gotten that would be a better fit. And I just think if you'd have had anyone else from some other country, like imagine an American guy fronting Thin Lizzy, it just wouldn't have been right. It would not have been right. It's just not the same intent. It doesn't come from the same place. And, bro, as we talk about this, Rustin, that's the stuff that really reminds me of how fortunate I am to be a part of this. That Ricky is the guy behind the microphone. He is the guy with the guitar in his hand saying, hey, I got an idea for a riff. That was how Kingdom of the Lost came to be. I had this Irish melody. Ricky had a whole other Irish melody, and we were able to work them out and combine them into the same song. I could not be more proud of that song. It's absolutely my favorite song on the album.
Yeah, it's absolutely one of my favorites, too, and that's why I go back to it. It's like the first song I play every time I play the album. Now, when Brian Downey decided not to make the Black Star Riders jump, you guys wasted no time snapping up Jimmy DeGrasso, who I still remember from his Y&T days, well before he got known in Megadeth. Why was he the name you guys immediately jumped to? I mean, obviously you two had the Alice Cooper connection, but I understand it was pretty much a unanimous thing from the other guys in the band. Let's get Jimmy.
Well, man, we never looked at this band as like a super group. Super groups tend to just come off like projects. And this was never a project from day one. This was a real band and a commitment on everybody's part to focus on it 100%. So at the same time, it didn't hurt to have guys in the same band that do have fairly quality resumes individually. So for me, it took about 4 seconds because Jimmy and I did indeed play together with Alice, but we that's all we would talk about oftentimes. It was our love for great British rock and European bands, and certainly Thin Lizzy was at the very top of that list. So when I mentioned the name to the other guys, there was a comfort zone there because they had heard of Jimmy. They knew about Jimmy. Even Scott knew Jimmy. And Scott's not a guy that's out buying records or going to concerts or,
right.
You know what I mean? But even he was like, oh, yeah, I've heard of that guy. I saw him play with Alice. He's pretty damn amazing. So it was, as you said, it was immediate. It took us about 5 seconds, and we went, yep, let's reach out to Jimmy. And Jimmy didn't hesitate, man. He goes, I'm there. Thank you. Thank you for calling me. I'm all about it. And that was before he'd even heard one note of the new song. So, for us to be able to take that band, these guys, that enthusiasm on the stage every night, even now, a year later, and as we're touring in America, and we love it, man. And that energy is coming across to the audience every night.
Absolutely, and he's done so many different things. He's definitely got the ability to. He can bring the swing. He can bring the straight on stuff. He's just a phenomenal drummer. I think he did really well there. Now, Marco Mendoza recently stepped down. Robbie Crane of Rat and Lynch Mob fame has taken over bass duties. Tell us about that choice and how he was the fit for and how he's fit in with the band so far.
Well, Robbie indeed is another name that we were all familiar with. Jimmy has actually played with Robbie before. It's important that you know this, Rustin. We have these 2 shows remaining. Marco is here. Marco, had committed to do this entire U.S. tour. But we also have Robbie on the road with us. So,
wow.
We're rehearsing every day at soundcheck. We're grateful that Marco has been a part of this thing and that he's been so generous in helping Robbie and answering any questions he's got. So it's going to be a seamless transition as Robbie plans to, he'll take the stage with us in Europe in July.
Nice.
So, man, Robbie and I have got a laundry list of mutual friends, but we've never actually played together. So this week, the final week of the U.S. tour with Robbie on the bus in the dressing room, man, it's just been a riot. I haven't played with many other guys that are as funny as Robbie, as good a storyteller as Robbie, and as great of a musician as this guy is, man. He came in and killed the jam when we got together on the West Coast right before we went to Japan. He just killed it. And, it just made me understand, emphatically why the guy has been so respected and was so sought after in the various things that he's been a part of. So we've been lucky, man. It's so many junctures, and this is another example. To have somebody like Robbie step in, it's been amazing.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see how the second album's going to sound. Speaking of which, you guys will be heading back into the studio this October to record the sophomore record. Joe Elliott of Def Leppard will produce along with Leppard engineer Rowan McHugh. I understand they lobbied for the gig.
Yeah. They did. They did. And, that's the other thing that's been exciting for me over the last 3 years as a part of Lizzie and Black Star Riders is that the love and the passion for this band is at every level, not just the fan level, but other professionals, other bands, other singers, other writers, other producers. It's exciting, man, because, for me personally, starting from a band like Brother Kane, so many things for us was such a struggle. There was so much turnover at our record label. There was turnover with our distribution company. I could just go on and on. And with Black Star Riders, man, it's like the phone just rings and people go, "Hey, how can I help? I love what you guys are doing. How can we help?" And that's what happened with Joe and with Ronan. And, so again, it's the excitement of just the unknown, the evolution of this band. What's it going to be like? I can guarantee you, man, the songs are going to be there. We've already got a dozen things, man, that we're jumping up and down about. So, it'll be a continuation of the sound that we celebrate on the first album. There'll definitely be more of that. So I'm very excited to get this second record going and to get it out in the first of 2015 and hit the road again, man, and play some more shows.
And you guys are going to be recording this in Ireland, which is pretty special. And you sort of touched on it. Sounds like the songwriting's going okay so far. Do you guys sort of just show up? Do you guys show up in the studio with like bits and pieces and ideas, or are you going to have like the songs pretty much fully formed when you get there?
No, man, this is a band that has the songs fully formed. And a lot of that absolutely has a lot to do with the fact that there's so many songwriters in the band. And it's pretty easy these days, man, even with just the benefit of technology. Even when Scott's at home in London, I can send him a track and go, "Hey, man, what do you think about this arrangement?" And he'll fire some other idea back. And then, unlike Scott tells a lot of great stories about the Thin Lizzy days and how they made those records. And that was back in the days where there was a bigger budget and you just say, "All right, we're going to book out the studio for 6 weeks, 2 months."
Right.
And they would show up with bits and pieces. We're all husbands and fathers, and we're all a little smarter than we were 20 years ago, 30 years ago, even longer in Scott's case, So we tend to try to be thrifty about it. And they're like, let's get in the rehearsal space. Let's take all these ideas and then let's flush them out before we go in and hit the ticker on the studio and all this gear and all these engineers and extra people. So That's definitely the plan. So we hope to get that going, man. And even like late August, 1st of September, let's get in and start banging on all these songs.
Nice. And who knows, maybe you guys will end up doing a U.S. tour next year with Def Leppard since Joe's producing the album. That'd be a fantastic ticket.
Well, there's no doubt, man, this band is made for the big stage. And I definitely think the next time we come to America, it needs to be like that. We need to be on part of the package. And we've certainly earned our stripes with this tour. All the venues have been great. The promoters have been great. The audience has been great. So we feel we've done a good job in establishing who this band is now to the American audience.
All right, a couple of questions before we get out of here. I know that you would love to dig deep into the Thin Lizzy catalog and bring some more of those songs to the stage. What are a few of the deeper cuts you'd like to see in the set on occasion?
Love that question, man. Love that question. I would love for us to work up Got to Give It Up off the Black Rose album. I would love for us to play Johnny the Fox from the Johnny the Fox album. There's so many songs, man. I mean, we've got the heavy stuff down. I think any Black Star Riders show moving forward, we're always going to play Emerald. We're always going to play Bad Reputation. We're certainly going to play Jailbreak and The Boards Are Back and that kind of thing. But, I have just as equal of a passion for some of the more mid-tempo stuff that Lizzy had on those amazing albums. I'd love to play a song like, We Should Work Up Dancing in the Moonlight. We did that with Brian and with Darren. I know Jimmy would love to play that stuff. I'd love to play Warrior. I would love to work up. We could get really crazy and work up some stuff that Scottish said they never ever played live, like Romeo and the Lonely Girl or King's Vengeance, or going back to the Fighting album and something like that. But even some of the ballads, man. Borderline. It's one of the greatest songs of all time. Not just a great Thin Lizzy song, but one of the most beautiful songs of all time. Would love to work that out. Maybe Sarah off the Black Rose album. And, I think it would also be a lot of fun to actually work up the epic Black Rose, which we have not played in Black Star Riders yet. I think Jimmy would kill that with all of his musicality on the drums. So, yeah, man, there's no shortage of songs that I want to throw out there for us to do. It's just a lot of fun knowing that we can, pull from that discography.
I was actually listening to Killer on the Loose right when you called, so digging through some of the old stuff, sort of getting ready. All right, it would be an easy question to close with what are your favorite 3 Thin Lizzy albums, but you being a guitar player and Thin Lizzy being such a great guitar band, give us your 3 favorite Thin Lizzy riffs.
Just right off the top of my head, it would be Emerald, it would be Black Rose, it would be Johnny the Fox. Got a little bit of everything, the heaviness of Emerald, the epicness and sweeping scope of a song like Black Rose, and then just the cool, sexy, musical R&B swinging vibe of a song like Johnny the Fox. It's everything you need to know about rock and roll right there in those 3 songs.
I'm with you. Damon Johnson, Black Star Riders, the debut album, All Hell Breaks Loose, phenomenal, but the second album's going to be recorded this fall, out early next year. Man, thanks so much for taking the time. I know you're busy out there. Enjoy your month off. Hopefully you'll get a little bit of downtime. On the way out, what track should we play from the album?
Why don't we rock that title track, brother? All Hell Breaks Loose. Rustin, you're a lord. Thank you, my friend. Great to talk with you. I hope to see you very soon, man. Thanks for all the support and all the enthusiasm.
Absolutely. Take care, brother. Be safe on the road. All Hell Breaks Loose here on Metal Nation Radio.